Welcome to Coach Gone Rogue, the podcast that boosts your self-awareness without all the trendy self-help fluff. I'll share tips, tricks, tools, and practices you can implement to uncover who you truly are, create real, meaningful change, and to build your amazing life. No matter what stage of self-growth you're at, if you're looking for real, no BS support, then this is the show you need. I'm Keturah, self-awareness coach with a twist, and this is Coach Gone Rogue. Who are you really? What's most important to you? What do you want out of this amazing life? What are your passions? Where do you feel you're safest, you're most creative or inspired? Where do you feel the happiest or most content? What's your default setting when life sucks? What are the things you do every day that are holding you back? What inspires you, and how do you get more of that? Without knowing who you are, how on earth are you supposed to create a fulfilling, meaningful, and generally happy life? In this episode, I'm kicking off with my weapon of choice, self-awareness. I'm going to take you through why it's really the backbone of creating your big, awesome life, and share with you the core principles you need to master to make self-awareness your new favorite too. I was speaking with a friend of mine recently, and she was telling me this story of one evening, her being at home on her own, watching one of her favorite television shows, and she drifted off on the couch. She fell asleep, and when she woke up, had rolled over, looked up at the television, and to her shock and horror, there she was faced with a number of naked people standing on the screen. And as she continued to watch, she realized that it was a dating show. So not dissimilar, if you remember, if you're old enough to remember A Perfect Match, not dissimilar to that. There's an individual who comes on the show who's trying to find someone to date or to pursue a relationship with. And there are a number of contestants, and the contestants are hidden from view whilst the person asks them questions about themselves to determine who they want to date. So as the show goes on and the questions are asked, the contestants are slowly eliminated until they're left with the one person that they are going to take on a date. But in this iteration of a dating show, all of the contestants are completely naked. And as these questions are asked, there's a screen that slowly raises up, exposing these awkward completely naked people as they're asked questions about their life. And it got me thinking about what a strange way it is to choose a life partner. I understand that these shows are really aimed more at a bit of tongue-in-cheek and a little bit of, lightheartedness. We're looking for dates. We're not necessarily looking for our life partner, but still an interesting concept, getting to know somebody by asking them a few questions and knowing what they look like naked. How do you know what they like and dislike, or what they excel at? What they love to do, what's really cringy for them, what lights them up inside. How do you know how to encourage them when they're feeling stuck or unmotivated? How do you help them when they're feeling down, or celebrate with them when they're just smashing at life? I know that comes over time, but it's worth considering when you're thinking about the relationship that you have with yourself. Your self-awareness and the relationship that you have with you is, I would argue, the most important relationship that you will have with anybody ever. So if all you know about yourself is what your favorite color is, what you enjoy doing on the weekend, and what you look like naked, then you're missing a whole bunch of really key information that means that you can have a really awesome, fulfilling relationship with yourself and create this life that is just unbelievable, that includes all of the things that you're really passionate about, that supports you to be your best, that helps you to learn from the challenging times and to grow and have awesome connections with other people, and to ultimately end up with this life that you look back on and go, hell yes, let's do that again. When you get to know yourself beyond this surface level understanding, you can support yourself so much better. You can understand what motivates you, what triggers you, what holds you back, and how to support yourself. That's my goal here, is to teach you not only to uncover who you are, but to learn the skills that you need to create positive change, to motivate yourself to positive change, to understand why you're resistant to different things. This real, ongoing, deep relationship with yourself. And like all relationships, it's not always going to be rosy, right? It's not about making everything perfect or ignoring the hard stuff. It's not about having a life that doesn't have bumps in the road and experiences that throw you off course, be them good or bad, that are just unexpected and not what you had planned on your, on your map. But it's knowing your strengths, understanding your limits, and knowing how to stretch them, how to test them. It is knowing where you want to grow and how to go about it, and using all of this knowledge to your advantage. The process of self-awareness isn't always pretty. It can be a bit dirty, it can be a little bit ugly sometimes, and it can be confronting, but my goodness, is it worth it? It is the one thing that will make the biggest difference to your life. And it's not a once-off. It's not a set and forget. It's not something you do one day and that's the end of it. It is a lifetime practice. It evolves as you do, as you have different experiences, as you change and pivot and meet new people and learn new things, and you understand more about your strengths and your challenges and grow as an individual. But self-awareness is at the center of that. It holds strong when all of the other things around you and in your life are changing. It's the eye of the storm, the calm in the center. Now, I believe that there are 4 key areas, or 4 key focus areas for positive self-awareness. And they're kind of a little bit like a babushka doll, one of those little dolls that each one kind of nests inside the next one. The one at the very center is curious reflection. Now, if you have followed me for a while, you will know that curious reflection is kind of like one of my catchphrases. But you have to be willing to look and see who you truly are in order for self-awareness to be possible. You have to be curious. You have to want to be a detective about your emotions and your actions and your reactions, your resistance to things and what motivates you, what worked last time, what didn't work, and how you can make changes or tweaks or understand your limits so that you can find the support that you need to help you in particular areas. The curious part is really key. It's like Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole. It is really about wondering and being open to what you might find, not having a predetermined idea as to what the outcome might be. And the reflection really is a questioning, a pondering, and wondering how you've ended up in circumstances or, supporting you to make decisions or changes. The next layer that kind of wraps around curious reflection is vulnerability and honesty. Now, this is the next step. Once you've done your curious reflection, you need to be vulnerable enough to be able to see what you uncover. It's not always comfy. It can be a bit confronting, and there needs to be a bit of vulnerability in uncovering the truth and being open to uncovering the truth, and that might be a little bit uncomfy sometimes. It might not always feel great, and what you find might be challenging and require more curious reflection or more consideration to kind of unpack where the core of things are, what the cause of, your circumstances or your thought patterns or your emotions or your habits or your actions are. Once you've got this center of curious reflection and it's all wrapped up in this vulnerability that allows you to see the truth, the next layer of our little self-awareness babushka doll is compassion. When you're looking at positive self-reflection and positive self-awareness that comes from that, compassion is really key. Like I said, when you're looking at things through a vulnerable lens that allows you to see the truth, there needs to be some loving support that goes with it. An understanding, a caring, a supportive and loving approach to what is uncovered when you are reflecting and when you're working on yourself. Caring for yourself is really where you grow from. It allows you to be exactly as you are, without judgment and with understanding. And the last layer that wraps around all of these is acceptance. Self-acceptance is an ongoing practice. It is something that is not always easy to do, especially if we're looking at things that might be a bit more challenging to accept, but it is incredibly freeing. Self-acceptance is not about settling for things the way they are, but it is about accepting things the way they are. If you consider that the opposite of acceptance is denial, by accepting something, you are acknowledging that it exists in its current state. And from there, you can accept that you can't change it and that this is the way things are, and you can work on that self-acceptance. Or you can accept that you want to change it. You can accept that from this place of acknowledging things as they are now, that you can grow from that. If you are in denial, then it is not a trigger for growth. Denial is not the seed from which you grow. It can't be, because you've kind of got your head buried in the sand. So accepting the truth, accepting reality, and accepting that you want to grow. Self-acceptance, if you want to think of it in another way, or if you struggle with it, consider it like unconditional love. When we love somebody else unconditionally, we accept that there are things about them that are challenging for us maybe, or that don't sit quite right. If I think of an example, I consider my kids, who I love with all of my heart, and they leave wet towels on the floor regularly. Now, this is a bit of a silly example, but you can see that whilst I accept that that's the way that they are, it's a habit that they have, and we have conversations about it, and they know how I feel about it, but I love them regardless. And this is where both compassion and acceptance come together, and that there is an understanding and it is met with love, but you accept that that is the way that things are at the moment. So there's a quick intro into the 4 essentials for positive self-awareness: curious reflection, vulnerability and honesty, compassion, and acceptance. So what can you do today to start working on those 4 pillars? My first one would be curious reflection. Depending on what it is that you are looking at right now, whether it be a new goal or a big change or just something that you're wanting to reflect on about yourself, whether it is how you communicate or how you connect with other people, and asking yourself 3 questions about that situation. First off, what is it that has gotten me here? What things have happened? What experiences have you had? What knowledge have you acquired? Or what things do you believe that have led you to the position that you're in right now? The next question I'd be asking is, what is it that you need to either start doing or stop doing? So gain or let go of in order to get you to where you want to go. Consider in that any resistance that you have to making those changes, to either implementing something new or letting go of something that might not be serving you right now. And then the last question that I'd be asking is, what are the strengths, supports, systems I already have in place that I can use to support me towards this change or towards a better understanding of myself in this particular area? So it could be knowledge that I have, it could be personal strengths like my resilience or my sense of humor or my ability to connect really well with other people. It could be knowledge that I have or legitimate skills. It could be study that I've done. It could be resources or other supports I have. I've got a supportive family or I have someone to talk to about it. Whatever those positive strengths that you have or that you have access to, consider all of those sorts of things. Remember, if you're going to take yourself through this process, to be open to be vulnerable about that, what that truth is, to be gentle and compassionate with yourself, and to work on accepting whatever it is that comes up for you. As you work through and as you learn more about yourself, this will become a more natural process. If you've got any questions, however, do not hesitate to send me through an email at hello@coachgonerogue.com, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Coach Gone Rogue podcast. I hope it's given you some insight into why self-growth really does start with positive self-awareness and has given you some ideas to take away that you can now implement to get you started. If you'd like some more roguish insight delivered straight into your inbox, then why not sign up for my email list? There is a link in the episode description you can click on and submit your details there. And whilst you're there, why not also click the follow button and keep updated for future episodes of Coach Gone Rogue.